Delighted to be welcomed by Nadhim Zahawi now. He's the Minister in charge of COVID vaccine deployment. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Julia.
Good morning. Lots to talk about this morning in terms of the COVID deployment. Let's start with big concerns that we may see some actual sort of export ban by the EU when it comes to some of the Pfizer deployment in return for what they say is a limit on AstraZeneca vaccine supplies to the EU. Are you concerned that we may actually see our vaccine rollout limited by an export ban by our supposedly closest neighbours and allies in Europe?
Well, I'm confident that Pfizer, under the leadership of Albert Bourla, a great chief executive from day one of this journey towards a vaccine, Pfizer talks about equitable supply for the whole world. I'm confident they will supply our orders, our deliveries to schedule, and of course they'll supply the EU as well. They're reconfiguring their European production to go to 2 billion doses instead of 1.2 billion. So I'm confident in our delivery, as I am with AstraZeneca Oxford. I spoke to the chief executive, Pascal Soriot, last night, very confident that they will deliver for us, as well as the chief executive of Moderna, who spoke to me yesterday before their announcement about their work in their deliveries for the spring. So we have millions of doses coming through, and I'm very confident we'll meet our mid-February target of vaccinating the most vulnerable top 4 categories in the JCVI, the Joint Committee for Vaccination and Immunisation list, by mid-February.
And I just want to clarify, that's 88% of deaths accounted for over 70s. I get that. But is that 1 dose or 2 doses?
No, that's the first dose. And then we start the second dose in March, because, of course, those people who were had the first dose in January will be due to have their second dose. And we'll continue with, obviously, first dose as well as we go down to category 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So that's phase 1, and then we move into phase 2. On Saturday, we hit 500,000 jabs in a day. We've now got a deployment infrastructure, a combination of the NHS family, of course, hospitals, GPs, pharmacies, community pharmacies, and the national vaccination centres, our military, our armed forces, the private sector. The back end, by the way, in terms of distribution, is Boots and Superdrug and another brilliant distribution company. And of course, DHL, who've done a tremendous job in the distribution network. And the volunteers, 80,000 vaccinated volunteers, 200,000 people have come forward to do marshalling in this cold weather to make sure the over 80s, where we've now got to 3/4 of the over 80s vaccinated. A tremendous effort.
There's no doubt it's a tremendous effort. Credit where it's due. I would have liked certainly the pharmacies to be called up earlier. That you had to wait for the media to point out they hadn't been called up. I am still a bit confused though.
That's not true, Julia. That is not true.
No, that is true, Nadhim.
No, it's not.
Because the National Pharmacy Association, no, I can assure you, I know for a fact
Julia,
that Lloyd's Pharmacy were not contacted until the weekend after the media reports. I can assure you.
Julia, I am the COVID vaccine minister.
So those companies were lying then?
No, what I'm saying to you is from before even I took on this role in November, right? NHS England was working with the pharmacy sector to bring on board the community pharmacies that can do 1,000 vaccinations a week. That was the reason.
So the National Pharmacy Association was lying then?
No, I'm just saying.
Well, you can't both be telling the truth,
Nadhim. Have been engaging with them before the media campaign.
Okay, well, we'll go back to them because I mean, obviously, you're saying they're lying. Then we'll go back to them. I'm still confused. There's lots to talk about. I'm still confused about why so many over 85s. Look, it's brilliant. I'm not in any way disrespecting the fantastic work of the NHS, the military, everybody, the volunteers, and getting this rolled out. It's been a magnificent achievement, and all credit to government where it is due. Still a bit concerned that so many over 85s haven't had their jabs. I'm assuming there is good reason for this. Is it about access to people within care homes who are very ill? Or why are we not every single over 85-year-old already vaccinated when we know people in their 70s are starting to get the vaccine?
So in terms of the over 80s, I think we're now over 70% of the way there for the target for mid-February. In terms of care homes, every care home would have been visited and had that first vaccination by the end of this month, January. Now, some people in those categories, both those categories, could have been infected with COVID. So we'd have to wait 28 days for a return visit to then vaccinate them. But essentially, uptake is very high amongst the over 80s. And of course, residents of care homes is running at nearly 100%. And those who look after them. I was slightly concerned, but that's also catching up and very high.
All right.
And then we move to over 75 and over 70s and those clinically extremely vulnerable.
Okay, let's go back to what you were talking about in terms of you're being reassured by the bosses at Pfizer, AstraZeneca and Moderna about the supplies of the vaccine. If the EU, I mean, they may want to be supplying us, they may have the supplies. If the EU, if the European Commission, which is in charge of the supplies for the EU, as agreed by the 27 member states, if they do, as they say they will, they want to actually have all companies having to provide early notification of whenever they want to export vaccines to third countries. This is what the EU Health Commissioner has had to say overnight. If they want early notification, that can only be with a view to they would possibly ban those exports. If there were a move by the EU to ban exports of vital vaccine supplies to the UK, what would the UK government do?
Well, I think it'd be unwise to speculate, first of all, on any decision that the EU makes. That's not for me to do. That's for the EU to do, whether it's the Commission or the individual countries. I think the right thing to do is what Albert Bourla, the chief executive of Pfizer, is doing, which is to make sure that he has equitable supply for the United Kingdom. I'm confident that Pfizer will supply and deliver the supplies that we have acquired from them. And of course, AstraZeneca, Oxford as well. I think it would be very unwise for the vaccine deployment minister to begin to speculate on this stuff. No one is safe, Julia, until we're all safe. And I think if you talk to Jens Spahn, the German health minister, or other health ministers, they would absolutely agree with that view, which is why the UK is spending so much on vaccinating in the low-income and middle-income countries through COVAX, WHO system. We're putting 450 million, total 1.3 billion to work to help those countries also get the vaccine. Because, as I said, the one thing we've learned about this pandemic is no one is safe until the whole world is safe. My priority is to vaccinate the United Kingdom adult population as quickly as I can. The most vulnerable, the 9 cohorts in phase 1 is 99% of mortality. Okay. If we can do that as quickly as we can, offer them that protection, then we'll be in a much better place. This is our way out of this pandemic.
Okay. Also, one of the measures that we're told we're going to have announced today after a meeting the Prime Minister is holding with his advisors is about travel quarantine for anyone arriving in the country. How soon could this come in? Would it affect every arrival in the country from everywhere or just travel hotspots? Would it affect Brits returning home or foreign arrivals? What's the plan?
So we keep border policy under review, as you would expect. We introduced the pre-travel testing. Of course, we've had the passenger locator forms in place, and we acted very quickly on the South African variant and the Brazilian variant in terms of restricting travel from particular countries. The Cabinet is looking at further proposals, as the Prime Minister confirmed yesterday, on quarantine policy. It will be announced in the usual way. Matt Hancock, the Health Secretary, was engaging with the travel industry last week, as will the Business Secretary. And when the details are agreed upon by Cabinet, it will be announced. And I and other ministers, I'm sure the Transport Secretary will be very happy to come on your programme and explain them to your listeners and, of course, to the travel industry.